All right, everybody. We want to welcome everybody to episode number 14 of our Backwoods Fishing Podcast. And we're excited about this episode right here. Have been for a long time. I got my good friend Robert Eidson and my good friend Steve Mark with me. And Robert's already, man, he's been joking. We've been having a good time. And so I'm looking forward to this whole thing. But we got to thank everybody that has made this deal possible for us to be able to come in here and talk fishing. I want to thank B&B Custom Outdoors, AA Graphics and Signs, Jill of All Trades, Simpson Trucking and Grading, Tangle Trout Cabin Rentals, our good friend Captain Mac, and Heads Up 2 Taxidermy. I want to thank all those guys, and yeah, man, I think he's supporting Mac tonight too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So look, these guys, they don't need an introduction. Everybody knows who Robert Eidson is. You've been around as long as any other fishing guide I know that's still living, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in a
Since the
respectful
wheels
way.
were square.
Since the wheels were square. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, look, so I know this is kind of new to y'all, but we're gonna have a live feed right here, so people's gonna be getting on here and commenting. So for anybody that's got any questions for these guys as we go, don't be scared to jump on here and comment. And we got an hour with these guys. We're gonna talk fishing. So I'm not gonna yak too much to start off. I wanna introduce these guys for those that don't know them. But this is Robert Eidson to my left right here. Tell everybody a little bit about you, Robert, how you got started striper fishing.
Tank wouldn't let me stay at home one day, kicked me out of the house, told me to go fishing. How did I start this thing? It's been so long ago. It's been 27, 28 years ago.
You can't even remember. It's been so long.
It's an oldie, dude. You see the gray hair, right? Actually, what happened was I did an article for Georgia Outdoor News magazine about striper fishing, and I wasn't even thinking about being a fishing guide. And they posted my phone number. I got a phone call. My morals wasn't real high at the time, so I decided to take the people's money and take them fishing. And now I've been doing it for 27, 28 years, since 98, I think it is. But it's been good to me. Fishing's been real good to me.
Yeah.
Met a lot of good people here, Lanier, watch Steve and Jeff and Jeremy all grow up. It's been nice to watch younger fishing guides become husbands and dads, and watch some older fishing guides, become grandfathers. And now we're dealing with Captain Mac, which we love to death, and Henry Callan, them being sick, and our prayers go out to those guys. Absolutely. They're both doing better, and it's been great. It's been great. I wouldn't trade it for nothing in the world, but I'm in my mid-60s now. I'm aging out, and next couple of years, Steve will be taking over the business and running it, and then y'all don't have to listen to me no more.
So that's one thing we want to talk about. I want to say this, when I first, and I've made mention this on a couple other episodes, but when I first started out fishing, I had no plans of being a fishing guide. But this man right here, for some reason or another, he took a chance on me. He called me up one summer and he said, "Hey," we got to know each other because he'd come up and fish Carter's a lot. So we got, we wasn't really close then, but we were acquaintances. We knew each other. So Robert called me. He said, "Why don't you come down here to Altoona this summer and do some trips for me?" They had some overflow. So I'll never forget, the very first guide trip I ever done was for Robert on Altoona on a lake I was not familiar with. Robert was out of town. Robert's like, "Oh yeah, by the way, I'm not going to be there," to kind of lead you along. But Dan,
it wasn't a new thing.
Dan, yeah. So Dan's going to be here, and I'm like, "Who's Dan?" So I got to meet Dan, and to top it all off, it was a professional hockey player that was on my boat that day. Him and his dad, So it was, which I'm not into hockey, but it was a professional hockey player. These guys wanted to catch fish, and but either way, it turned out because Dan, he's like, "Man." He's like, "Look, we've been catching them here and here," and he kind of gave me the basics and everything, and I stuck with him. We worked together all morning, had a great day. I think we was like done. People were ready to leave at 9:30, 10 o'clock. So I was like, "Man, this is awesome, man. If I could do this every day, But I'll say this: I started off with a bang, but there's been a lot of struggles in between.
Oh Lord,
Yeah, there always is.
So Robert also told me this. Robert's always given me great advice, but it ain't always been what I wanted to hear. So when I told Robert when I quit going to Altoona and I said, hey man, I'm gonna start my own thing up here at Carter's close to home. And Robert was 100% supportive of it. He was behind me 100%. But he said, I'm gonna tell you something. He said, you're gonna be gray-headed before you're 40 years old.
Oh yeah.
And I'm 34, and they're coming out. They're coming out. I'm telling you. So you was right. So hey, we've got some guys already coming in here. I know Robert and Steve's got a big fan club, and we've had a lot of people that have followed us on this thing. We appreciate everybody, all the support, and but let's talk to Steve a little bit down here. Robert's already said you've already said, Robert, that you're not ready to retire, but you're looking at it.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. I mean, I'm aging out. I mean, it's to the point because we have to throw a cast in it like you do, early in the morning. And well, me and Tina, we're both mid-60s now. That net gets heavier and heavier and heavier. And I took a fall a couple of years ago, hurt myself, and I think it's time to start slowing down.
Yeah.
Steve, and First Bite, the name First Bite means a lot to me. It really does mean a lot to me. It was something I didn't want to retire the name. And Steve's my best buddy. I mean, Steve's been, during all my downtime, he's just been rock solid for me. So
Yeah.
me and Tina decided that all the websites, First Bite, everything, we're just going to give it to Steve because we know he will carry it on, and he deserves it. Forget the deserving part. He's my best buddy. I wouldn't want it to go to anybody else just because I know he's going to care for these people the same way we did.
Yeah.
When the fishing's not good, we tell them it's not good.
Yeah,
If fishing's good, we're going to beg you to go.
Well, you've had a lot of good people work for you over the years.
Oh, absolutely.
But I mean, really, when I think the First Bite, I mean, obviously I think Robert Eidson, but I also think Steve, because you've been with Robert for so long, so it seems only suiting that you pick up where Robert leaves off with First Bite. So
I agree.
So for those that don't know who Steve Mark is, I want Steve to talk a little bit. And I told Robert me and him wasn't gonna hog it and talk the whole time. We're gonna let Steve talk a little bit too. So tell everybody who you are and kind of how you got your start in it, how you and Robert got linked up.
Oh, well, I got my start in the business one day, Robert, when I got a new boat. Robert came by and looked in the boat, just looking around, like in his head, he's thinking, oh, he can probably guide out of this boat. And he's like, you want a guide for me? I said, sure, why not? And basically, like, what happened to you, Jeremy? He just pushed you in it.
Yeah, he just threw me in the fire, man.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's, but like I said, that's really what I had no intentions of being a fishing guide. I mean, we was, my dad had the chicken farm, and we was doing the chicken houses and stuff, and I was racing a lot back then and everything. And Robert's like, well, hey, we need you on the weekends, man. You can't be racing. I'm like, oh my God, well, it's fixing to change completely, But I'm telling you, I had a lot of fun working with Dan and Steve, and it was great. It was a great experience. It got my feet wet, got me going. But I realized real quick, if I'm going to make a living doing it and be as successful as Robert has been, I'm going to have to stay closer at home. I can't drive whatever, hour and a half, 2 hours every day and make a living. It just wasn't feasible for me. But at the same time, it got me experience with having people on my boat that I didn't know. And as we all know, it's one thing to take your friends and your buddies and family fishing. It's something else to get somebody on the boat you've never met before. And, you have to get out there and try to connect with them as quick as possible and put them on fish all at the same time and try to make it a great experience for them.
That's the thing it's not the size of the fish you catch. It's not really the number of fish you catch. You got 4 hours, 6 hours, whatever you got to make those people feel like they're part of your family. You make them feel like they're part of your family, they ain't going to look for nobody else. They're going to keep coming back. They're paying your power bill. They're paying your phone bill. These people are helping you pay your bills.
Yeah.
So you treat them like family. Yeah. And by the way y'all talked about me, I want y'all to write my obituary. Because my wife would never say nothing that nice about me. So obituary 10, both these guys, get them to write it.
So look, we've got to... We got to do some scrolling on these comments because we've missed a bunch of. So you said you was looking for Bill Carson. There he is.
Hey Bill, look, hummingbird.
He said ask Robert about his water balloon wars.
Oh, I will. Hummingbird hat. I don't have one.
I'm gonna give you one tonight.
Yeah, get on to this. Can I talk about that?
Yeah, talk. Whatever, man.
We're at Lake Lanier. we're at Lake Lanier fishing NSBA tournament. Bill's coming out of a creek. I'm going in the creek. Next thing I know, I get whacked upside the head with a water balloon. Well, I don't have balloons in my boat to throw back. So we started chunking 12-inch gizzard shad at each other, back and forth.
Oh, no, I don't know if I could have done that.
So we're trolling back and forth using Captain Max umbrella rigs, and we're both catching the same size fish. Well, we get done with the tournament, and we wind up finishing in the money, both boats did, and I lost by half an ounce. My one place down to Bill Carson and his water balloons.
And that was on Lanier.
On Lake Lanier. And on the way back then we had, speedway, we had to keep our fish alive. So we got this great big old cooler in the boat, right, with our fish in there. We turned the cooler, we didn't turn the cooler around properly. The door flies open, it's about 35, 38 degrees outside. I get hit square in the face with about 20 gallons of water.
Are you serious?
Absolutely one of my favorite fishing trips I've ever been on in my life. I got hit with water balloons, took a cooler full of water to the face.
I really can't see Bill Carson being that guy that does that, but sound like he had some fun with you though.
He did not have a halo that day.
So look, Henry Callan, and we knew Henry. Henry called 30 minutes ago. He's been sitting here on ready. So let's see, what did he say? He said that the word has it that when you retire, you're gonna go fly fishing.
What?
Is that true? Or has he come up? Has he dreamed that? He's dreamed that up.
I like to catch fish, dude. I ain't pick no fly rod up.
That's a lot of work.
That's a lot of work.
That's a lot of work, man. But it is fun. Yeah. Renee said you have a real good looking boat. I'd say probably one of the nicest boats. And you've had it a long time.
I have.
Man, you are, that's the thing. I mean, Robert is so picky about his equipment and boat.
Everything.
And really, I mean, as being a fishing guy, I mean, that's part of it. Nobody wants to get on a boat that's nasty and it's stuff scattered everywhere and everything. And I feel like, your stuff's always been top notch.
Well, you think about it. When we started this out, just say when you guys started out, we're basically still at the same price. New boats have doubled since that time. Our prices have not doubled. Now you're dealing with post-COVID, and the pricing's not going down for parts. So in labor's gone up so much. A power head, like on the Yamaha show of mine, I blow a power head, it's $14,000. For a new power head for that thing. You do the math, and you net 10 dozen shad per day to pay for that. That is somewhere in the neighborhood of 160,000 shad you got to net to have somebody put a new power head on there. You better learn to work on your gear.
Yeah.
And maintenance it. Don't let it blow up on you. Maintenance your stuff.
Yeah.
I change my oil religiously.
Yeah.
There's nothing I don't do on my boat that's 80 hours, 70 hours. I change stuff, 20% earlier than you're supposed to.
Yeah. Yeah, a boat's going to cost you money. Whether you look at it as, maintenance costs money, but probably not as much as what if you don't do the maintenance.
Exactly.
You have the breakdowns.
Exactly.
So you've got to keep everything up. But your boat's what, probably 10 years old now?
Actually, yeah, it's 10 years old, but I'd put it up against any boat that's at 2023, 2024 as far as the way it looks on the outside. I keep the ceramic coat up on it. I do everything. I do my own gel coat, and I don't do half gel coat. I make sure it looks good. It don't go out and Tina's shaking her head. Yeah, my stuff don't go out if it's not looking good.
Yeah, I know. I see the posts and stuff. So somebody said Steve is on the fish every time I pass him on the lake.
That's true.
Not sure anyone catches more fish than him on Altoona.
I agree with that. Who said that?
Jason Powser said that. Yeah. So yeah, we know Steve is always on the fish. So I'm gonna tell this right here too. One of the first times that I ever worked with Robert, when Robert was actually out there on the lake, so we're all sitting over here catching fish. Me, Robert, Dan, might have been Steve. I can't remember. There was 4 or 5 of us out there that day, and man, we start catching fish. And next thing you know, boats are coming from all directions, and I'm like, what in the world is going on? Because I just wasn't used to that, And Robert, man, he never misses a beat. I mean, he just keeps going, keeps on catching fish. We got all these boats around, and I'm freaking out. I'm like, what is going on? And but that's something you've had to deal with every day for as long as you've been doing it, I guess.
Yeah, it's something we deal with. And we got a lot of fishing guides on the lake now, but we got such a good community of fishing guides. With all the guys, every one of my competitors, I consider friends. Fred Duncan, for instance, one morning, I backed my boat off the trailer, and the guide rail, the PVC pipe, pulled my boat up on the trailer. It's 3:30 in the morning. My boat's up on the ramp sideways. Only person I knew that'd be up is Fred. I called Fred. He's 10 miles away at another boat ramp. I told him what happened. He put his boat back on the trailer, came over to Kellogg's Creek, helped me get my boat back in the water, and then netted his bait and ran his trip. I mean, that's my competitor showing up at 3:30 in the morning to help me.
Well, that's.
I mean, we got great people.
That's good. Yeah, that's good. But like I said, my question was, my thing was, I just wasn't used to that type of fishing. Having all the boats around, that kind of stuff. But you guys seem to be used to it, and like I've said before, I feel like one thing I learned with y'all too was, if you was the first one on the fish, we were the ones catching the fish. Everybody that tried to come in after we already had that school fired up, they might pick up a few here and there, but for the most part they was watching. And I don't know about y'all, but I've never liked to be the one watching. I will leave. So that leads me to finish my story. So I got so freaked out by all these boats, I eased out of there. And I guess there was so much going on, Robert didn't even know. He turned around, I was gone. And Robert calls me, he said, "Where are you at?" And I said, "Be honest with you, Robert, I don't really know. I don't know the lake good enough to tell you where I'm at." I said, "I'm in the mouth of this creek over here." I said, "I just rolled over a school of fish though." And I said, I'm getting rods out. And he acted like he was mad to start with that I left, but then here in a few minutes, Robert come running over there. He found me. He figured out where I was at. He found me. And you remember this, you got in there and we all started catching them again. And then all of a sudden here comes all the boats again. I'm like, oh my God, I'm working for this man. I can't tell him anything because everybody on the lake's following him around.
Oh, well.
Yeah, but I picked up on that real quick. I was like, man, this is a lot different. But I still don't regret doing it. It was a great experience. And I learned a lot of the basics of guiding at Altoona with First Bite Guide Service. That's what got my start. And then, I've had guys since then that's helped me, like Jeff Blair. I worked for Jeff for a while. You and Jeff are good buddies.
Jeff's a real good friend.
You've mentored him, and you've mentored, and I think that's something that we have to do. We love this sport, and we've got to try to help pass it down to the next generation. I know that it's hard you don't want to tell everybody everything you know, but if it wasn't for guys like Robert that took a chance on people like me and Steve, if you just had kept it all to yourself, then when you're gone, that's gone.
It wouldn't be no fun, though.
Yeah, it wouldn't be no fun, man.
It wouldn't be no fun. Yeah. Henry Callan's probably one of my favorite people on the planet, but me and Henry, we have a lot of different views on things. Henry's an educated man. I barely made it out of high school. We would not be friends if it wasn't for fishing. We drew together in fishing, and now, I wouldn't take a brand new fly rod for Henry Callan now, to be honest with you.
All right, so speaking of Henry Callan, he's got a question for you. He said, what changed on Altoona from whence it was once called the Dead Sea and now seems to fish really well? When is the topwater consistently happening?
Take the topwater bite. You know more about it?
That would be September through October, probably on Altoona.
So a fall deal.
Yep, fall deal.
All right.
This is the first part of it. Oh, the Dead Sea to now?
Yeah.
Oh, that's easy. Reciprocating hybrids. Back in the day, we'd stock stripers. And original hybrids, like they got up at Carter's, they get 12, 13, 14, 15 pounds. Well, original hybrids are just like stripers. They're not warm water tolerable. When we went to a reciprocating hybrid, which is a female white bass with a male striper, they're more warm water tolerable. They only live for about 5 years, but their success rate to making it to maturity is about 3-4 times greater than what the originals were. Plus, they're cheaper to produce. So we're stocking, I think last year we did 62,000 stripers last year, 184,000 hybrids, but our catch ratio, I would say is 15, 20 to 1 maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably 15, 20 to 1. And the stocking rate's only 3 to 1.
They're stocking it. They're stocking it heavy. And let's talk a little bit about the bait population. So from what I'm understanding, there's some bait that showed up on Altoona that once was not there.
We shouldn't.
Has it been a bad thing or a good thing, Robert?
Both.
It's kind of a double-edged sword.
Yeah, it wiped out the white bass population, I believe.
Really?
To me, it has. Yeah.
Not complete. Well, it's
still
not
white bass
100
there.
fish a day like he's used to catching, because that's about what he used to catch. But they're still there, but you can see the numbers going down really quick.
Yeah.
And Steve chases them more than
Of
anyone.
white bass.
White bass.
But the hybrid, so from what I'm taking is that really where y'all's numbers are is hybrid.
Hybrids, without
Yeah.
question.
Yeah. Hybrids.
But I'm gonna tell you something. You know, I think a lot of people have always looked at, maybe not always, but for a space and time, people have looked at Altoona as, well, you can catch numbers, but it's, you know, they're typically smaller fish. But I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I've seen some guys. I don't fish down there a lot, but I've seen some other guys that have took advantage of opportunities, maybe in the spring where you could go pull some bigger baits down there. There's some bigger fish to be caught on
absolutely.
Altoona. There's some big. I've seen some good ones actually the last 2 or 3 years.
Oh
caught
yeah,
down
the
there.
blueback population exploded, and you know it's made the spotted bass bigger, the stripers bigger. I mean, it's becoming like a mini Lanier right now,
Yeah.
I believe.
So it's helped the fish, but maybe in some ways it's made it harder to catch them. I guess is what you're getting at.
Oh yeah, the patterns have definitely changed.
It's
Yeah,
the patterns
patterns
are
change.
different. Yeah, yeah.
But
So
we have the bigger fish have shown back up. I've had a couple I had a
yeah,
30 last year on
Yeah.
Altoona.
I've seen some in that 20 to 30 pound range. It's been. And so hey, look, I hadn't made mention of this yet, but we're going to let everybody know. So don't be scared to comment on here. We got a few things we're going to give away. We're going to save one hat for Robert, but we're going to give away a Minn Kota hat, and we're also going to give away a AA Graphics, which is one of our sponsors that made all these signs. If you're looking for hats, shirts, any kind of embroidery, screen printing, AA Graphics and Signs in Canton, Georgia, check these guys out. We've got a toboggan here. It's going to go with the hat. So that's what we're going to give away at the end. So everybody that has commented on here is going to have a chance at winning some merchandise here. So we
Will the
appreciate.
white bass population improve? I don't think so.
Yeah, Renee said we'll.
Yeah, Renee, we don't think so. I talked to the biologist 2 days ago, and it's a steady decline. The numbers are really bad this year. I actually prepared for this, so I called and got the numbers. Stripers went down this year. White bass went down about 15-20%, but the hybrid population is still good. But everything seems to be migrating back towards down to the dam. We're actually getting a better DO, dissolved oxygen level this year than we ever have, and it seems like it's setting up down at the dam, and that's why the bluebacks are living. But it don't mean we're going to keep them though. West Point Lake used to have bluebacks, and they had 2 hot summers, and their blueback population's almost gone.
Yeah.
So you never know. In a
I
lake
think
like that.
Altoona is one of those places it's shallow enough that if it got really hot for 1 or 2 summers, it could wipe those herring out. So before that, I remember when I was going down there with y'all, all you caught was really like under the light was threadfin.
Threadfin.
Yeah.
And then you catch gear shad during the daytime. But for our trips, we was getting there before daylight and
Yep.
catching thread fins and going fishing, which obviously then it was all we needed because we caught a lot of fish. But that's definitely changed. I remember a time when Carter's Lake was nothing but threadfin and gizzard
I do
shad.
too. I remember when it was
Before-
all gizzard shad just about.
Yeah,
Remember the
yeah.
shad kill?
So I can see. So now, here we are on all these lakes. There's threadfin shad, there's gizzard shad, and there's herring. Whether it's blueback herring or whether it's alewife herring. So from what I've seen, a lot of times you'll have 3 or 4 different kind of patterns going on because you got fish feeding on you got herring. What I call it herring fish, or
Yep.
you got shad fish. Typically the fish that are feeding on the big shad, there's not as many of those fish, but they're bigger a lot of times. The herring fish seem typically to be the ones that are schooled up, but there's exceptions to that. I've caught big fish on herring, and Robert, man, he was one of the first guys that figured those alewives out at Carter's, and I mean, you caught a lot of big fish up there.
Caught a lot of big fish on LY up there. And caught a lot of big fish on Altoona on threadfin. I agree, big baits catch big fish. But
Not always.
I also kind of tend to think that big baits just weed out small fish. I'm not sure if you don't put a threadfin and a gizzard shad right in front of the same fish.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if he's going to turn it down or not. It's just I believe it's big baits weed out smaller fish.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
And I look for numbers. I mean, 27 years, I made a full-time living off of catching 3-pound fish.
Well, as a guide, you have to. I mean, you know, I mean, I know that, you know, to go out there and catch 20, 30-pound fish, it happens, but it's probably not going to happen every day. So you cannot depend on that as a guide trying to run a business and trying to keep people happy.
Can't. But you got
Not on Altoona is what I'm saying.
We bring our big fish trip up to Carter's, and we don't even really run that many of them anymore because it does seem like we can catch, if we pull for them, we can catch big fish.
I feel like y'all got as good a fish at Altoona as we do at Carter's.
Well, you got people like Mike Bartlett and Mike Still and some of those
He's
guys.
on here, man.
They do nothing but big fish at Altoona.
So Mike said, I've caught quite a few 20 to 30-pound fish on Altoona.
Mike Still and Derek, those guys, they target big fish. They are big fish specialists on Altoona. If I didn't guide, I'd pull baits just like they do. They catch a lot of great fish. I mean, a ton of good fish because they pull for them.
Yeah.
We can't do that. You know, I wish we could, but for us, we pretty much lucky in the big fish because we're fishing herring and threadfin.
You're fishing for numbers, yeah. So it's
we're
just
for numbers, but those guys, they target them. They target them well.
I guess that's been probably my hardest thing with trying to guide and fish tournaments because you have to look at it
differently,
two totally different ways.
Yep.
Now, don't get me wrong. You can go out there and fish a tournament, and you can treat it as a guide trip. Okay, I'm going to go out, and I'm just going to catch fish. And you can go out and have a fun day, and you may place bid pack or whatever. You might do. But there's always going to be those guys out there that are going to be fishing for those 2 big bites.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of these lakes have got so many smaller fish. You have to do like what Robert's saying and weed out with those bigger baits. You weed out those, you know, 5, 6, 7-pound fish when you know that's not going to help you. That ain't going to help you on tournament day.
Yeah,
it ain't going to help.
It just makes you have some kind of weight going to the scales. Back when we used to fish the national striped bass tournament, I think I won 3 or 4 divisions, but I've zeroed probably 50% of the time because we pull for big fish.
Yeah. So I agree with Bill Carson completely. He said the exception to that rule
This time of year. Yep.
is this time of year with the big baits is when the water is below 50 degrees, the little baits will.
Absolutely.
And I mean, so look, guys, what fishing I've done lately at Carter's, I've caught the majority of my fish on new rigs and mini max. That's what I've patrolled, which is not my thing. It's not my thing.
I love it.
I know, and Bill Carson does too.
I love it.
But but that. It seemed like, you know, we had this 2 weeks here where it's warmed up pretty good, and there has been some opportunities to catch some fish on live bait, but the fish are still moving a lot. I mean, and we know, and when I say moving, they're not moving from this point to this point. I'm talking about they're moving. They're moving.
Yeah.
You know, so that's, you know, I agree 100%. I mean, right now, Bill, I'm not pulling big baits. I mean, I'm not. Now, if I'm gonna go fish a tournament, yeah, I'm still gonna have some big baits out there. But you know, he's right. When the water gets below 50, and the fish seem like their metabolism slows down, they're just not keyed in on them big baits. But now I'm gonna say this: we're fixing to come up on a time in March and April.
That's
here,
when you run big bait.
where I've seen where if you didn't have that big bait,
I've seen you kick my rear end with big baits out there.
Well,
Me pulling herring, you pulling big baits, and I'm watching your rods go off like, man, I'm going another creek.
well, that hadn't happened much, Robert. But I'm telling you, there's times where if you ain't got that big profile, you're not getting the bites. And I felt like in the spring when the fish are spawning, not pre-spawn, but when they're spawning, I almost feel like that it's not so much that they're wanting to eat that shad, is it as much as, because a lot of times you'll find them paired up. Mm-hmm. You'll find them paired up in the spring spawning on a point or something. And when you pull that big shad over them, it's almost like they're territorial. And they'll come up, and that's where you're getting that blow. They're slapping it, and they're rolling on it, and they're, you know, knocking it out of the water, but they're not really eating it. You get a stinger hook in there, and I don't know how many fish I've caught, man, with the stinger hook on the side of their face. I've even hooked them in the eye, which I know would have to be painful. But sometimes that bite, when, you know, that'll get bites.
I've caught more fish on a stinger hook than I've tied stinger hooks. It's just something we don't use because we don't pull baits, you know, the size that you guys.
Yeah, well, pull. If I don't like stinger hooks, but if I've got anywhere from a 10 to 15 inch shad, I'm probably gonna put a stinger. The bite's gonna have to be really good for me to not put a stinger hook on that big a bait, you know, because you're just gonna miss a lot of opportunities.
Yeah.
You know, but I don't like stinger hooks either because you end up getting hooked by them.
125 feet, Rodney, at the dam. That's the deepest part on Lake Altoona.
120 foot. So Brandon said, what temp of the water makes a difference in
55 degrees all across America, in my opinion.
55
I
degrees?
love 55 degrees.
So that's the difference in what he's saying is what difference makes what the striper hits.
It's
from big
I'm
bait
not
to
even
small
sure,
bait.
I'm not even sure if it comes down to water temp, to be honest with you, depending on how big the shad kill is. Because if shad kill is big, you know, they can feed longer, but 55 is usually, it's probably about when you usually start pulling big baits.
55 to 58 usually seems like it'll start picking up, but when it gets up in the 60s, from 60 to really, I've been on some good shad bites and the surface temp be 70.
I think, you know, when the temperature is below 50, I can pull mini max, man, and seriously just wear them out on mini max at 50 degrees and lower because they're feeding on those little bitty thread fin. I saw somebody post that they had a big school of fish over at Lanier and couldn't get them to eat. Man, if you get up out of Lanier, up off and go to the lake, and that's some tiny thread fin, get a size 4 hook, you will catch those fish right now.
Yeah.
Or use a medium-sized shiner.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's kind of the winter pattern, you know, smaller baits. If you're going to do live baits in the winter, you want to stay smaller. The trolling stuff we know is key in the wintertime. And I've also used this trolling a lot of other time of the year as a search tool. I went to other lakes that I've never been to before. Like we went up to Chateau 4 or 5 years ago, never been there. And I'm like, man, I have no idea where to go. I'm putting my U-rigs out and I'm trolling until I find something. And me and Brandon, we trolled for 3 hours, and then all of a sudden both rigs went off at the same time. We found a school of fish.
Ready to go.
Then we started downlining and catching them on live bait. You know, so it's this time of the year I'd say it's a must. You know,
it is for people like me and you. We love it. Now Steve won't pull them. Steve won't pull them.
You don't pull them.
I don't pull
pull them,
rigs.
but he will.
Not even mini max.
Not even mini max.
Really?
He will spoon though. And that's, you know, the other part of winter fishing is dropping a half
2
ounce
inch spoon.
And that's what he does. When I'm pulling rigs, he spoons. And I would gripe about it every year until I realized that our numbers were so equal with what he did and what I did that it just didn't make a difference. You know, I prefer the rigs. He prefers the spoon. And with the white bass population being in there, you know, he'd drum them up under the boat and he'd have 100 before I get down to them.
Yeah.
And like you were saying earlier, first guy in wins. I will not be the second boat in behind him. I do not like being a spectator.
Yeah.
And you are a spectator if you're second boat in.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't think that would be good. Now, like I said though, but to me, if you're smart about it, you know, if I see Steve over here catching fish,
I'm running the other way.
but I'm
Same way with Robert. I run the other way.
But I am going to take notice of what are you setting on. I'm going to look at my map and I'm going to see where you're at. Are you setting on a hump? Are you setting on a point? Are you out in the channel? And that automatically gives me an idea maybe where I need to look.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean you got to run over here and get on behind next to Steve because he's probably going to put on a good show for you.
Yeah.
But you may end up on the short end of the deal. I'm just being honest.
Or you can do like I did. You text them and say, if you don't move and let me have your spot, I'm sending you a pink slip right now. Pink slip.
That's why that day when I slipped off away from y'all and I said, I'm gonna go find something somewhere else. I can't deal with all these boats anymore. When you called me, man, I was like, oh my God, Robert's gonna kill me. He ain't never gonna book me another guide trip because the plan was to stay together.
Yeah.
But I got so freaked out by all these boats. I said, we caught fish there, but once it kind of started slowing down, I said, I'm getting the heck out of here. I knew then, I said, I've got to be the first one to find them fish if I want to really catch them and do
I don't
good.
fish with my guys. And if we got more than me and Steve out, I don't get nowhere near my guys because I don't want to put the pressure on them and I don't like boats. I really, especially now I've gotten older. I mean, I could go catch 25 fish. My clients are going to be happy. But if I catch 25 and I got Steve sitting on one side of me catching 60, you know, my 25 got slighted even though it was a good number.
Yeah.
out of sight, out of mind.
So is that so is that's kind of a friendly competition between all your guys? You know, see who can catch the most fish.
Between me and him, it's life, dude. What are you talking about? Matter of fact, every year we do a corporate trip. We do a corporate trip.
Oh god.
And we use 7 boats, and they always hire us, but whichever angler catches the biggest fish gets like $1,000, a Yeti cooler, and stuff. The biggest fish. 2 years ago, Steve sticks a 25 right at the beginning of the day.
First fish of the day.
I heard yap, yap, yap on text all day long.
That
Finally
wasn't
called
my
my
yapping.
guys and let me go big fish fishing. 30 minutes before the tournament was over with, I stick a 28.5.
Uh-oh.
So then
What was it, 27? Now it's at 28?
It's 28. Pink split.
It's growing, man.
Anyway,
It's growing.
Anyway,
Oh
the
my
tournament got a name that day. It was called, I named it, Who's Your Daddy? Who's your daddy? Me.
You are.
Okay, we have it last year. I kept hearing about how I'm going to lose my title, blah, 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 blah. So my guys, I had the same guys I had the year before, so let me go big fish fishing. I stuck an 18 early. He couldn't catch me. So 2 years in a row, what am I? Your daddy.
So, but y'all always, it's never come between your friendship.
Oh, never.
Oh, no.
This is just, no.
This makes it more fun.
Makes
Yeah.
it more fun because we don't do it out loud where the clients hear it.
Oh, yeah.
It's via text, man.
Okay.
And we don't get the other guys into it because we don't want to put that kind of pressure on them. It stays in between us, and it's all done by text. And
Yeah. I'm gonna tell you
I
something,
actually
man.
had my Who's Your Dad? I had a Who's My Daddy shirt. Almost wore it today up under my Mac shirt just so I could open it up and show him. I won't retire until he beats me in the Who's Your Daddy. If you want me to retire, you better beat me.
I tell you what, man, Steve, he's give everybody a run for their money. So, look, we froze up there a little bit and we missed some comments. So we may have to scroll back up. Make sure we want to make sure we've covered everybody's comments right here. So Renee said, which light is more productive for catching bait, a white light or a green light?
White light for herring, green light for threadfin, in my opinion.
Yep, totally.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we don't even drop the white light. We use, spreader bar light on top, and it makes them boil the water. But for threadfin, it's a green light. But in the summertime in Altoona, the herrings they're deep. We can't pull them.
Well, for a long time, it seemed like up at Car, everybody was using green lights, and it worked for a long time because nobody was using anything else. But now it seems like these guys are coming up here with these white lights. And that's always been a big thing too, is who can get there first. Who can get there first. And that's why we're getting up at 2:30 and 3 o'clock every day. And it's like that's another competition and challenge within itself, is who can get to the boat ramp first and get their light out first.
That is.
So, you know what though? I got tired of that. I got tired of worrying about that because everybody wants to catch bait at Doll Mountain, at Carter's Lake. Everybody wants to go to Doll Mountain. And I got to think about it. I said, the reason we do that is because it's convenient. We don't have to run across the lake at night or whatever. But it's not because that's the only place on the lake there's bait. Yeah. We know that there's just as much bait, if not more, in other places. So because of that, not having to worry about everybody, there being 8 boats sitting in one place with lights out, I mean, I've went other places. I mean, I'll launch my boat. I know Carter's well. I got my map. I'll cut across the lake at night. I'll go up in another creek where nobody's at, catch my bait. And usually I can catch it quick, get back, pick my people up. I just ain't into all this. So Robert's seen this happen. You be sitting there all morning, got bait under the boat, you're fixing to throw your net, and somebody will come easing by your boat with their light out and pull that bait
They pull it right
off your light, man.
That's almost fighting words on Altoona when you turn your light off when you pass another boat.
Now, do you think people do that because they just don't know better?
They don't know. All the fishing guides, we all know, and we all work together with bait. I mean, Jake Turner may be on bait, and he's there in front of Steve. He calls Steve in, and Steve will call the next guy in, and I get there, and they call me in.
That's good.
Once you fill your tank, you get out.
Good.
Respect. I'd rather have people respect me while we're netting bait than respect me while we're fishing. I can deal with you fishing next to me.
It's a lot of pressure in the morning when you know you got clients on the way.
Have bait,
and you got to get it.
But no, it's all of our fishing guides and our anglers. I mean, you had Renee on there a while ago. Renee's the same way. If he gets his bait, he's going to text Steve or me and say, "Hey, I'm done. Here you go." They turn their light. We get our boats up close. They turn their light off, and we net. Then we do the same thing.
Yeah.
It's just like a drive-through.
I'll turn my when I'm done. I turn my light off unless I got clients coming early and I'm planning on I'm gonna try to fish under the green light. You know, but like I said, it's really not worth bothering. So Henry asked if Tina can toss a cast net.
Tina don't have to toss a cast net.
Have you ever tried?
No.
Never tried. Okay. All right. So that answers that
Thanks,
question.
Henry.
Henry, Tina has not tossed a cast net. She's let Robert do all of that. So, all right, scroll back up a little bit for me right here. Well, I think we missed one right here. Bill Carson said that him and Jeff Blair tore him up on the Mini-Max the other day on the mirror. Biggest fish, 22 pounds.
Wow, that's great.
I don't doubt it, man. I seen the pictures, Bill. I believe you.
Well, you know, Bill, since I never got a hat, had a great guide that day. He fished with Jeff Blair.
Well, you know what? I think that was probably a combination of Jeff, you know, knows where, I don't know whose boat y'all was on, but Jeff knows where the fish are, and they ain't nobody no better than Bill Carson or Mac Farr on pulling those rigs.
No, there ain't.
I mean, I'll say this. Robert, it would be a close second because I've seen Robert, he's out there. I'm like, he's got umbrella rigs out and he's in reverse. I'm like, I called him one day. I said, what are you doing?
Dumping a rig.
He said, I'm dumping them. I said, what do you mean dumping them? He said, I'm dumping them on them fish. You know, I never thought about that. I thought, well, heck, you know, if I slow down, they're going to get on the bottom and get hung up. But he was good enough. If he seen fish at 50 foot, he'd reverse that boat and drop them rigs down there. And we started doing that way back in the day. And we caught fish doing that too. If we seen them deeper, we'd stop, either stay neutral or reverse it and drop it down on them. But it still ain't my favorite way to fish, though.
I don't know. You know, umbrella rig fishing is kind of like synchronized swimming.
Yeah.
It's not the funnest thing to watch, but it is poetry in motion to, you know, when you get the yard of it down and you can see a fish at 40 feet, you know your rigs are going about 16 feet, and you know exactly when to hit reverse to drop that rig back on them. When you hit that thing in gear, the rods are going out the back of the boat. You target that fish and you're good enough to know when to stop that boat, when to dump that rig, how far to let it fall, and then get it back in gear and not hang your gear up.
Yeah.
That takes talent.
That
I
takes
mean, there's no luck
experience.
in that.
It takes experience in doing it, and that's probably where a lot of guys, you know, and I probably would include myself in that, but a lot of guys will say, you know, I just don't like pulling umbrella rigs, and it's probably because, you know, for a fisherman, if you don't have the confidence in something, it's going to be hard to be good at it. You know,
he don't pull them because of the confidence.
You've got confidence in what you do with the live bait and the jig and the spoons and that kind. That's your thing, and you make 9 times out of 10 you make it work. You know, I've kind of always been the same way. I'll live bait fish to the very last minute. But if Robert's ever been at Carter's and he called me and said, "Hey, I just stuck an umbrella rig out and caught a fish," the last hour or two of my trip, I put it out
forward. We're going back and forth to each other.
Yeah, if it's really good bite, I might even start out trolling. I mean, you know, if the water's in the 40s, you know, and the live bait thing just ain't happening. I mean, I have went out there and, I mean, well, that's like I say, that's how we caught our fish. The last time I was on Carter's was on, we was running umbrella rigs, and then I was running a mini Mac on a Dipsy diver, running it down about 70 foot.
You know, the funniest thing I ever did with umbrella rigs is Bill Carson posted a glow-in-the-dark trailer. I cannot remember the name of it.
DOA?
Yeah, the DOA. Bill posted DOAs, and there were 5 to a pack or something like that you buy at Hammond's and all that. And I watched Bill post another picture of the DOA, another picture of the DOA. I got on the phone, called DOA, and asked them what they'd send them to me in bulk. So I think I bought 2,500 of them in a garbage bag because Bill posted 3 pictures of the DOA. By far one of my favorite trailers on the
Glow
planet.
in the dark.
Glow in the dark, buddy.
Come on, Bill. I hope you're hearing this now. We need some glow in the dark trailers. I didn't know nothing about that.
DOA.
I bet that would be killer on them walleye, man. I bet they'd love that.
I'm telling you, man. I watched him post this seriously just 3 or 4 times, and he didn't call out the bait. And I'm like, I started looking at, went on the internet, and finally found what he was using. Then I saw it was like $6.99 for a pack of 6 or something. I'm like, heck with this, man. I called DOA, got the owner or somebody on the phone, asked them if I could buy in bulk, and they go, "You mind if I come in a trash can?" And I said, "Tell me how many I can buy." And they go, "You tell me." I said, "I'll take 20." I still got probably 1,500 of them at home. Now they're getting to the point they're almost melting together. You know how soft plastic does?
Oh no. So, so Bill Carson said DOA 4-inch cow glow in the dark chartreuse.
That's it.
Hey, I need some in, Bill. Hook me
Come
up
to my
on
house. I got plenty.
You just said they's all melted together, man.
We're getting that away.
Golly, he's trying to pass off some old stuff. I need some new stuff, Bill.
I wasn't charging you for it. It would have been free.
Well, it would have been free, but I'd have had to like cut them apart and stuff, man. All right, so hey, scroll back up. There's Brandon Wood asked a question that I think would be good. I'll give my opinion. I want these guys to give their opinion too. But he said, how do you determine if you go with down rods versus planer boards or trolling? Is it the depth the fish are at or the depth the bait fish are at? I would say the depth that the fish are at. You've got to trust your electronics.
Absolutely.
We know that. You know, if you're seeing fish between the 15, 30 foot range and they're suspended in the water column, to me, that's a good trolling fish.
It is.
You know, but it's not saying that fish wouldn't come up and hit a live bait on a planer board either.
Nope.
So therefore, the only way to know is to try.
Yep.
You know, for me, I'm doing bait first, and if that don't work, then I'm on troll. Now, as far as down lines go, I'll say this: sometimes you can drop down rods on suspended fish, and sometimes you can catch them. But my experience has always been, it's harder for me to catch fish on down lines when the fish are suspended. I do better if
they're on the bottom.
On the bottom.
Yep.
If they're on the bottom, you know.
In the mud. Yep.
Because here's the thing, guys. All these lakes we fish up here for the most part, like Carter's and all, it's clear water.
Yeah, y'all got beautiful water.
And I mean, I've seen fish shoot up to our baits at 25 foot, and they look and they go back down. And I swear, I feel like a lot of times they see the shadow of the boat or something that spooks them, and they go right back down. You know, why else would they come up to that bait?
There's a way to fix that, though. We have our fishing guys. They have that problem. Well, sometimes they'll fix it. You know, some of our part-time guys, you know, they love to talk about lookers. I got them coming up looking and going back down. A lot of times that happens. It's going to happen in August and September. Those are two of the months that you have so many of them come up and look. They're tired of that ping. They're tired of getting ping. And I wouldn't ever, if I'd rather fish out of a John boat and have my Solix 15 on my boat than I would fish out of a big boat with something that wasn't a quality fish finder.
Absolutely.
And to me, Humminbird makes a great unit. That 15, I don't have to put my bifocals on. But in the summertime, when that water gets really hot and they've heard that ping and they've had 20, 30 boats sitting side by side, I'll use my fish finder to find them. If they won't pull down, I turn it off. I'll go completely silent. I'll get pulled. I need that fish finder to find them. If I know they're at 30 feet in a thermocline, I'll turn it off. My rods will go down. If they don't go off, I'll turn my fish finder back on.
For those that may not know what you're talking about, when he says pinging, he's talking about the transducer pinging. And I've said it 100 times too. I know for a fact those fish. And Lynn Slay made a good point on the first episode of this podcast we ever done. He said, you know, we was talking about him starting out, and he said, man, when I started out, he said, I didn't even have a trolling motor. He said, I was just drifting around. I was just drifting around in the wind. You know, remember?
I remember.
But he says, I swear I caught more fish then than I do now. So, look, all these electronics and the sonars, trolling motors, all this stuff, it's all very good. I mean, we're so used to it, what would we do without it? But at the same time, these fish are picking up things and getting used to it. We're fishing on the same fish day in, day out, and they're, you know, you get 5 boats in one spot, and all them transducers are pinging off each other, and I mean, that's got to affect them. I
think spring and into the first part of summer, they love the noise. You know, we'll thump them to the boat. We run, you know, we'll bring them to the boat.
Yeah.
But come August, September, the hybrids are so stressed out because they're staying in a water column that has no DO in it. You know, dissolved oxygen level in Altoona is usually from 21 feet to 24 feet. These fish are so stressed out, they don't like that sound. They just can't stand it. So I yank it off. When I troll, if I'm trolling umbrella rigs, and I know my water so well because I caught my first fish on a lake over 60 years ago. God, that sounds great, don't it? But you know, I know my water so well. I don't have to run those electronics if I want to turn the pinging off in September and, you know, August and September. I don't need it. Yeah. I get pulled.
Well, hey, look, I've heard other guys say that they've been on fish before that wouldn't bite. They cut their sonars off and start catching fish. So there's definitely something to that. But I'll say this, like you said, you got to have that. So basically what it comes down to is certain times of the year, we may be beating on the boat, making all the noise we can. And then there may be times of the year where we don't want nobody, everybody be quiet, turn the graph off, pull the trolling motor up. We're going to go in there in stealth mode.
That's it.
So that just tells you how things can change with fish. It can go from nothing seems to bother them to, you know, you got to make some noise and thump them up. I mean, I think everybody that striper fishes now knows about the thumping. So.
I think they do.
Yeah.
Especially on Altoona, because you won't see one of my boats that's not beating the bottom of the boat. He's probably got the best rhythm with a stick that I've ever heard. Man, he plays songs with that stick out there.
Oh, so that's the secret. That's why you catch so many fish.
Oh, yeah.
I had these
It's a
guys.
faster beat.
It's the beat of the thump stick.
I had these guys on my boat from Georgia Tech, and we caught like 30 fish. Fishing slowed down, right? And they said, Captain Rob, you know, we caught a lot of fish. Can we turn some music on? I said, well, we got Bluetooth on the boat. Y'all can tap into it. And they go, mind if we listen to some rap? I said, no, y'all can listen to whatever you want. You pay them for the boat. They turn it on. We turn the bass up. I'm telling you, every rod I had in my boat started going down because of the bass and the rap. I'm like, oh my God. At the end of the day, they go, you want to know the name of the song? I said, no, either they're going to hit Garth Brooks or I'm going to use a stick.
So you're not a rap fan.
I like all music.
Well, hey, I'm going to tell you something. There's something to that, too, because years ago when me and Brandon first started fishing Lanier, we had no clue about thumping. And I told it on the last podcast that I learned thumping not because somebody told me or not because it wasn't even on YouTube then. People was not making thump boxes. But I was fishing close enough to Doug Youngblood one day. He started thumping the boat. And I told Brandon, I said, what is this cat doing over here, man? He's beating the boat. And all of a sudden his rods start going off. We're sitting over here, we got lookers, like what you're talking about. We got fish looking. So we start beating on the boat, you know. I mean, it was working for him, we started working for us, and that's how we picked up on it.
It's funny you mentioned Youngblood. I'm up on Lanier, right? And we're in Long Hollow, I think it was. And Doug, I'm marking fish, not catching them. Doug comes in there and he just starts meleeing the fish in front of us. And I'm like, I'm trying to figure out what he's doing different. I mean, I'm watching his rods come up, I'm looking at his weights, his leader line. All of a sudden I realized he had his motor crank. Just the sound of the pee-hole hitting the water, he was catching fish. I said, nah, that can't have nothing to do with it. So I cranked my motor up. I never thought about doing that, never even heard of it. Turned my motor on, started catching fish.
Yeah.
And Jeff Blair, you can bet Jeff Blair runs his motor the whole time he fishes.
Yeah.
You know, Jeff, I just sold you out. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that.
I was fixing to ask you, do you think he would approve of you telling that?
He's 5'7". What's he gonna do?
Okay. So look, we've been wanting to get so Bill Carson said he's gonna bring me some of them glow in the dark trailers. He's actually going fishing with me. So look, we give away a gift certificate from Backwoods Fishing when Bill Carson come on the show, and the guy that won it just so happened to be friends with Bill Carson.
Oh.
So the guy called me and he said, I want to set it up for March 27th, and I'm bringing Bill Carson with me. So I said, all right, that's fine, whatever. So that'll be good, Bill. I appreciate that.
So Bill's friend won the trip.
Bill's friend won the trip.
That
Yeah.
almost sounds like an Atlanta polling machine.
Listen, I did not know who Stewart was. I did not know him. We drawed it out of the hat. It was legit.
Having Bill Carson fish with you will be fun.
Jeff Blair said 5'7.5".
Yeah, taller than Tina. Man, you know what I got worried about Jeff? I thought Jeff Blair was going to have to quit guiding. I really did. I really did. When the internet took a hold and they did away with phone books, and you didn't get free phone books, you know, the big ones, you didn't get them in the mail no more. And I'm like, Jeff Blair's not tall enough to look over the steering wheel without that phone book. What are we going to do to get that? You know what? 1970s, we found a pair of platform shoes from the 1970s during the disco era. Look at his feet next time you see him.
Well, I'm gonna tell you what, he may be a short dude, but he knows how to catch fish.
He
man.
can catch fish. I love Jeff to death, though.
Yeah, he's a good guy. So, look, Henry said he was convinced the fish filled the ping of the fish finder. the older, less powerful electronics never bothered the fish. Can't keep the big schools under the boat for long periods any longer. That's true. That's true. I've said that before, Henry. I've said, why does these fish not seem to hang around? And used to, you could get them fired up under the boat and set on them for an hour, 2 hours, and just hammer them. And a lot of times, Carter's is notorious, Robert. You can back me up on this. You'll have a school come on the boat and you might triple up or quad up.
Or you may not get none.
And you might not get none. But you could every rod go off, and by the time you land them fish are long gone. I'm talking about long gone. You might as well pull up and motor out and go look somewhere else.
Joseph Martinelli, read his comment.
He said, I've got a dozen trout for the first angler that can give the scientific reason they are attracted to thumping and knocking.
Keep your trout. I can't even spell scientific, man.
I don't, look, guys, I don't know if it's, if there is a scientific reason for it, because, I've seen, there was a long time that I felt like it didn't work at Carter's, because most of the time.
I don't even know if the word scientific comes into play in fishing.
Well.
And he spelled it right, didn't he?
Yeah, he did spell it right.
I just want to make sure I keep spelling.
Some people have took it, some people have took it to that level. I mean, I'm more old school. I'm more, the basics, because I come up under guys like Robert and like Mac Farr and Jim Farmer, all the old school guys that, y'all didn't have all these things back then that they have now. And y'all still, do you not think, Robert, that you overall caught more fish and better quality fish back in the heyday than you do now?
The quality was a lot better, but you got to remember the genetics was better back then too.
And there was nowhere near as many people.
Nowhere near as many people. You had original hybrids instead of reciprocating hybrids, so the size is going to be bigger. But as far as numbers, no. What happens is, as we get older, we remember things that really didn't happen back when we were younger. Back in the day, seriously, 7, 8 fish was a good day on Altoona. But we probably remember
That's a great day at Carter's.
Yeah, we probably remember it that it was a 40 or 50 fish day and we were the best. I mean, come on, April, May, everybody's a good angler in April and May. That's when you see most of your new fishing guides come. They think they're great.
Yeah.
Come fish August and September with us, and you can have my job, and I'll go to Walmart and be a door greeter. I hate fishing in August and September.
Yeah.
But still hire my boat because he needs to work.
Yeah. So somebody said it's never worked for him, the thumping. He said he feels like it's run him off, but I love it when Jeremy tries all the tricks. So look, Tracy, I've seen the thumping work at Carter's, but very, very few times really that I've seen it really be, or I felt like there was a pattern to it. Where at Notley, I can't say that. There's been times at Notley where if you was not thumping, you were not catching. It was that simple, But Carter's is one of those places, man, in that clear water where, if you got, I'll put it to you like this: if I got fish under if fish come under my boat, I'm probably going to not do nothing to start with until I see, because sometimes you'll hook up just boom like that. But if I got fish that keep coming under the boat and nothing's happening, the first thing I'm gonna do is pull that thumbstick. I take that back. Maybe not the first thing. One thing you can do if you're downline fishing, as everybody knows, is you can drop your bait down below where you're seeing the fish and power reel them back up through. And sometimes you'll get that reaction bite like that.
I tell you what, Jeff Blair taught me that, and he had it down to an art form before anybody else did. The power reeling, dropping.
Mac's good on that too.
Mac is too. Mac's great at it. But Jeff, as far as live bait goes, I've been in a boat with him. We rode 2.5 hours, man, waiting for him to let us put baits down. And then you run 20 up real quick on one there. It just amazes me that he rides. He won't drop on a single or a double, man. He waits until he gets those massive schools under his boat. He's good at it.
Yeah, I know. I fish with Jeff, so I know how Jeff fishes. Especially with guy trips, he'll ride around, and you're almost thinking, man, are we ever going to find it? And all of a sudden, you're on them, you know, and you're on them in a big way, and that's why he's.
Hey, look who you got on there, Kyle, man. He moved to Pensacola.
Yeah, so Kyle, I hadn't heard out of Kyle in a long time. So he said all those names I mentioned were legends. He said he missed you guys.
Yeah, he's been drinking.
He's been. So, all right. So look, guys, we're starting to get down to the end of this thing right here. We've only got a few minutes left. We got to give these hats away. But honestly, I could sit here and talk fishing with Robert Steve all night, at least until I got tired and ready to go to bed.
Until I showed up and take Steve away.
But I've had a.
I've been waiting to do that all night.
But look, guys, I mean seriously, Robert, he's been doing this longer than anybody I know. And look, if you're looking to go to Altoona and go with somebody that knows what they're doing, Robert may be tied up doing honeydews for Tina, but Steve can take care of you. So look these guys up if you hadn't already. First Bite Guide Service, and look, I think everybody that's come on here.
Oh, it's been great.
It's been great, and like I said, I'm honored to have you guys on here. I honestly didn't know if I would be able to get you because I knew that
I've turned down so much stuff over the last. This is the first one I've done in over 20 years.
Yeah.
You're my buddy, man. I watched you grow up.
Well,
I watched you get married. I watched you have a baby. How can I tell you no?
Well, I just feel like that, this was something I felt like when we started this deal. I'm like, look, we got to get Mac, we got to get Robert, we got to get Jim, we got to get all these old school guys on here, along with the new things. And we're going to close with this before we do these drawings right here. But this is something me and you talked about on the phone earlier. But what advice would you give a young person coming on that has this passion and dream of fishing, being a fishing guide?
I get this question a lot in my boat, where teenagers want to be a fishing guide and they see what their parents pay us, and, that's a lot of money for them. But, we know what happened to the economy last year and a half ago, and everything doubled on us. And being that me and Tina, we're in our mid-60s now, retirement's a real factor in life. You don't stay young that long. And when you get older, you need a 401k plan. You need to have a retirement plan. You need, if not anything else, I'm not sure where Social Security will be after 235, but you need to build your Social Security up. Being self-employed as a fishing guide, it's impossible now because, to be young and do it because you're not planning for your future. It's when you get in your mid-60s and you don't have a 401k plan to fall back on or Social Security, or you keep buying houses. We're lucky. We stayed in the same house for 28 years. Our cars, our boats, everything's paid for. So we don't need a lot to survive. But if you're going to be young and dumb with your money and buy fancy cars, I mean, you know how this works, man. You got to live within your means, and you got to be money savvy. You got to be able to save money just to get through the winters. I would suggest, I wasn't smart. I mean, I barely made it out of high school. So a paintbrush, a roof and hammer was my future. I mean, that was going to be my future. I got lucky. I stumbled into fishing, and I've made a decent living at fishing. I've been blessed and met a lot of good people. But most fishing guys don't make $30,000 a year. You blow one power head, you just gave up your earnings for a year and 3 months.
Yeah.
And if you're going to get married, it's not fair to your wife. It really isn't, because you don't know when the next paycheck's coming in. You don't know what shad kill's going to do to the bite. And
stressful.
It's stressful, and to get something financed when you're self-employed is hard. So if you're smart, go to school. Get a good 401k plan built up. If you want to be a fishing guy, do it after you get your retirement funds built up.
Why didn't you tell me this 15 years ago?
I was stupid.
Man, you could have saved me a lot, man. Golly. Now I'm so far deep into it, I can't get out of it.
Me neither. I can't either.
Man.
I went to Walmart, man, put in a job application as a door greeter. They go, greeting and you don't go together. I get it.
So look, Robert said that Steve would fish 14 days a week.
He would.
Or 14 days, 14 times a week. Yeah. That would be doing doubles every day. So this guy right here, he loves to fish. We all love fishing, But you get to a point where, you got to pick and choose your battles.
Our salary did not go up with the economy. Boats doubled. Our salaries did not double when the economy did this.
That's funny.
And
So everybody back here is laughing at Henry's comment. He said, marry a rich girl, and then you can be a fishing guide. Is that?
Yeah, yes, that's right.
Yeah, I think Robert's advice is better though.
I've been married 40 years to the love of my life, dude. I'm good. I got to ride home with her for 2 hours in a minute.
Just go to school like Robert said.
Go to school, save your money, be a fishing guy when you get old. You'll be a good reason to get out.
Or just go fishing. If you're old and got money, why would you want to be a guy?
Exactly.
Just go fishing and enjoy it. Enjoy being outdoors and everything. So look, guys, I appreciate Robert, Steve. I appreciate you guys coming on here with me. And we got to give this stuff away. We're running out of time on our thing here, but appreciate everybody coming on here. We're going to give these hats away. So we're going to do the AA graphics and signs and the toboggan here first. Hand me that
I
hat.
agree, Johnny. Being self-employed is not for everybody. You're exactly right.
All right, here you go, Robert. Draw us a name. Who we got?
Bill Carson. No, I'm just kidding.
He can't see.
Brian Hatmaker. Brian Hatmaker. I know Brian. He's been fishing up at Carter's a little bit. He's a good guy. I'll get with you, Brian. Get your address and we'll get it to you. Steve, you draw the next one. Somebody's gonna win a Minn Kota hat right here.
It ain't gonna be me.
Joseph Martinelli.
Martinelli.
Joseph Martinelli.
I got you, Joseph.
You won the Minn Kota hat, so I'll get with you and I'll get that sent to you. So look, guys, I've had a blast, man.
Oh, I have too.
appreciate
It's
you
been great.
guys coming. And right before we go, I got to thank everybody again. If it wasn't for these people, we wouldn't be able to come in here and do this. They're the ones that's helped put this thing together on the financial side of it. So B&B Custom Outdoors, AA Graphics and Signs, Jill of All Trades, Simpson Trucking and Grading, Tangle Trout Cabin Rentals, Captain Max, and Heads Up 2 Taxidermy. Thank all those guys for everything you've done for us, and appreciate all of our supporters on here. Appreciate Henry Cow, man. I'm glad he's doing better, and it's done me good for him to be
Me
on
too,
here,
man.
to be on this
That made me
show.
feel good. I wish we'd have got to see Mac on here.
And so, Robert, hey,
Look at all
no,
the hats I'm getting, man.
look, no, Jeff, I done beat you to that. I done give him a hat,
I
man.
can have two.
Sorry. Well, yeah, you need to. You always need to.
Dude,
All right,
what are you
guys.
doing?
We appreciate everybody tuning in, and we'll catch you.